Mmm, donuts.
Hi everyone! It's your local donut enthusiast, Rachel Barnard. I'm going to be reading from my latest young adult novel, Donuts in an Empty Field. This is the first in the For the Love of Donuts series. So this is a young adult novel about friends and getting over grief and the shenanigans young people get into, and it's fun. Chapter 1, Mementos. We haven't opened this room in 5 years. "Are you sure you're up for this, Vanessa?" Mom asks. I nod, but I'm not ready. How can I deal? Dad could be alive if he hadn't tried to be a hero. I glance back at Mom and take a deep breath. Before I grab the office doorknob, turn, and push. The smell hits me, stale, musty, humid. This is not how I remember Dad. I hold my breath and look around, trying to recall the distinct way he smelled. This used to be Dad's office. Now it's a stagnant room full of useless things. Things we're going to get rid of. All his books and papers and desk toppers. Junk crammed onto a 6-foot desk and packed into a room that is little bigger than a walk-in closet. Mom pats me on the back and I step inside. Letting out a breath with a whoosh, I tiptoe around piles of books on the floor and sit in the office chair. It creaks backwards. Mom stands in the middle of the room with her hands clasped tight together in front of her stomach. Thin streams of sunlight filter through the blinds, highlighting the dust motes in the air. Bluster noses his way into the room, waddling around to sniff at each pile of books and papers stacked on the floor. I bend down to pet him. Not only is it the anniversary of my father's death, but it's also the anniversary of the day we got Bluster. It's almost as if he came to replace Dad, arriving mere hours ahead of the incident at the restaurant. Bluster's stubby reddish-brown tail beats at my thigh as I try to hold him down and hug him. Bluster's softness rubs against my bare legs. I can hear his heartbeat pattering and his breath wheezing as he struggles to get out of my grip. He smells like a dog should. Musty wet from his recent bath. I breathe deep, the smell overpowering the staleness of the office around us. When Dad brought home Bluster 5 years ago, I was thrilled. Corgi pups are divine, and I was absolutely smitten with this little guy. I'm certain it was the reason boys never interested me until later. From the first tail wag, mess on the floor, and sharp bark, I was in love. Mom only shook her head and sighed. Dad was forever surprising both of us with his shenanigans. He usually got away with them, too. I dropped hints for years about wanting a dog, but Mom always said no. It was much harder to say no to the dog's face. Bluster and I bonded the minute Dad set him into my arms. No matter how much Mom didn't want a dog, she couldn't take him away from me because Bluster was the last present Dad ever gave me. Shoes tap in the main part of the house on our wood floors, and my best friend Nicole appears in the doorway. She glances at Mom and then locks eyes with me, looking down at me from her model height of 5'8". She hesitates outside the door, still holding my gaze with her own brown eyes. She twirls a slender finger through her shoulder-length brown hair with blonde highlights and chews on her lip. "Are you sure that it's okay for me to be here?" Nicole asks. I nod and she steps inside, her heels tapping on the wood floor without rhythm as she takes tentative steps. "Thank you for coming. Of course it's okay. Vanessa and I very much appreciate you helping out," Mom says. I frown. "We don't have to do this." Nicole says at the same time, "It's okay. I wanted to help." We look at each other. Normally we're more in sync, but today everyone's rhythm is off. "Thanks, Nicole," I sigh. She remains silent, waiting for Mom to be the parent and say something helpful. Mom shakes her head. "It's time." She sighs heavily and unclasps her hands. Mom wears no makeup, and her eyelids droop. Her lips are a thin, pale line without lipstick. I have Mom's hair, at least when she was younger, but I don't have to dye mine to keep its dark brunette color. Nicole purses her lips and I internally roll my eyes at Mom's lack of parental guidance. At the very least, she usually gives me the canned therapy version of sympathy and support. But today is hard for her, too. Mom sweeps her hair over her shoulders, out of her pale face, revealing the 2 large ears I inherited. She steps back into the hall to pick up the cleaning supplies we'd forgotten outside the room. Bluster looks up at me and whines. I pet him, and he settles down onto the floor. Touching Dad's precious books and trinkets makes his presence feel closer than it has felt in years, like he could walk in and tell us the corgi bobblehead doesn't belong in a box, but front and center on his desk, next to his donut-patterned mouse pad. Putting his stuff in a box is like putting him and my memories of him into a box. I don't want to forget Dad, but both Mom and my therapist agreed. It's time to donate the books and clean out the office. That it has to be done. In a single-story house with 3 bedrooms and an office, we sure don't need the space. I don't understand why today, of all days, it has to be done, but it isn't my choice. Mom wants to get it over with. She has plans tomorrow. I don't have enough energy to object. So, Nicole says into the silence, I'm glad you have the air conditioning on. It's hot out there. She wipes the back of her hand over her forehead. Her cheeks are suntanned, slightly darker than her normal olive skin tone. We're both of mixed European heritage, but Nicole got genes for tanning, and I didn't. It's Florida in the summer. Of course it's hot, I say. I get up out of the office chair, releasing a puff of dust. Mom starts with the pictures. Photos clutter Dad's desk and windowsill, overlapping with smiles and memories. My heart constricts tighter and tighter with every photo placed face down in one of the medium-sized boxes Mom dragged in. I don't want to cry in front of Nicole. If I'm too much of a bother, she might leave and hang out with her other friends, doing something more fun. The sun creates shadows through the dusty blinds, striping on the box like a jail cell. I apologize silently to Dad's memory as I nestle in each new photo. Do you want to keep any, Vanessa? Mom asks. I look at the collection of bobbleheads on his desk, the Rubik's Cubes and desktop puzzles, the office toys. They don't remind me of Dad the way Bluster does. They don't mean more than my memories of him. I shake my head at Mom, and she tilts her head, regarding me, before settling back into the routine of placing odds and ends from the desk into boxes. Then I see the last photograph. It's a larger picture, printed at home and tacked onto the corkboard in a hurry. On Dad's last day, alive, after he'd surprised me with a dog, he took us to Sarasota's only dog park. Bluster was 6 months old, still small enough for me to hold him tight to my chest without his legs falling out of my arms, but old enough to mingle with the park's smaller dogs. We'd gone to the dog park to let Bluster socialize, and Dad was going to break the world record for most powdered donuts eaten in 3 minutes. After Bluster wore himself out, we put him back on the leash and left the dog area to find ourselves a secluded picnic table. The picture was taken after Dad failed. Powdered sugar coated Dad's beard, the top of Bluster's head, even dusting the park bench and floating to the ground below. Mom kept trying to wipe powdered sugar off Dad's beard. Dad had no qualms asking a stranger to take our photo. It was frustrating that I couldn't even remember if the stranger had been a man or a woman. I remember Dad. Dad was an inch or two above average height, about 6 feet tall, and had the regular dad paunch that signifies the presence of children who never finish their own dinner and give leftovers to Dad to eat. He was always trying to talk or wave to strangers. Everyone always recognized Dad for his friendliness. I wonder if it was to show me that good people exist in the world, that I could be one of them. I reach up to pull the photo off the corkboard, but my hand stops halfway. I can't do it. This is still Dad's office in some way, and the picture belongs here. Mom smiles at the picture, but her eyes still droop, and her lips are so thin they almost disappear into her mouth. It'll get better, Mom says. You still have each other, Nicole offers. And you have me, she adds. I know. This is really hard for both of us. Mom looks away. I've scheduled you with Dr. Bryan later today while I'm out with Walter. Your new boyfriend, right? Nicole asks. Mom won't meet my gaze. I know this is hard for her too. I try to give her a break for setting up a dating profile online, for abandoning me on the hardest weekend of the year for a date. I'm mad at her for being so open about dating again, for telling me about it and expecting me to accept that she's moved on when I haven't. Walter has been helping me get through this too. Nicole looks at me for an explanation, but I don't want to get into an argument about Mom dating again right now. I'm kind of hungry, Mrs. S., Nicole says, sensing our discomfort. Mom nods absently. How about a snack, Mrs. S.? Nicole says louder. Mom shakes her head as if to clear away her thoughts. Sure, be right back, girls. Nicole waits until Mom's out of the room to start shoving books into another larger box. Hey, I say. Nicole pauses and stands up straight to regard me. What? You're dragging this out, and it's not going to get easier the longer you do it. Let's get it over with. Nicole walks over to me, reaches up to grab the photograph off the wall, and I slap her arm away. Seriously? Come on, Vanessa. Don't you dare. You can't just walk in here and throw his stuff into boxes like it's junk. Nicole raises her eyebrows and takes a step back. That's not what I'm going to leave this one, I say with a scowl. Nicole holds up her hands in surrender. Fine, she says. I reach up to touch the photograph, fingering one of the loose corners at the bottom. Peripherally, I see Nicole take another step back, watching the wall and my finger. She trips over a stack of books on the floor. I don't think. Swiveling to help her, my finger is still hooked around the edge of the picture. It rips as I leap sideways to grab at Nicole's flailing arms. She backpedals over the stack of books. I yank her back to the open floor and let go of her arm. The ripped corner of the photo clutched in my fingers flutters to the ground. Nicole sucks in a breath as I turn to face the ruined picture. Something flutters behind the missing corner, and I lift the stiff paper to peer behind it. Something is there. Nicole and I both jump at the sound of a crash from the front of the house. Mom! I yell. I'm wound up from being in Dad's office, from remembering our last day together to the finality of packing up his stuff, that I go into panic mode and run toward the door. Nicole bumps into me in our haste to make sure Mom's okay, and we both fall to the floor. My world turns upside down, and I bang my head against Nicole's knee. I'm panting and scrambling to disentangle my limbs from Nicole's. Mom still hasn't answered. We run out to see what happened. Mom's in the kitchen, her hands braced on opposite sides of the sink. For a moment, I'm immensely angry that she didn't answer when I called, scaring the bejesus out of Nicole and me. But then I notice she's crying. Shame and my anger crashes down on my shoulders. Give us a minute, I ask Nicole. She nods and heads back to the office. I wince at the sounds of books smacking into one another as Nicole throws them into boxes. Mom? It just slipped, she says without looking up. Several large pieces of one of our flowered yellow and green plates are on the ground next to Mom. We've never broken any of the plates before. Thankfully, I'm wearing my favorite pair of Crocs, and I don't have to leave Mom alone right now to go get shoes. I can see smaller pieces of the ceramic littering the floor in between tufts of Bluster's fur and crumbs from our last meal. It's okay, Mom. I bend in to hug her, and she turns to me with shaking shoulders, sniffling and blinking to stop her tears. It'll get easier, I tell her, patting her on the back. Grief is a funny thing. It's never the same, and it's always a tough upward climb, but you'll get there. It won't be easy, but you're strong, and you'll get through it, Mom assures me, turning back into the parent. Ugh, there's the canned therapy talk. At least she's feeling more like herself, even if I don't. I notice she didn't include herself in the statement. Don't you miss him? Of course I miss him. He was your father, she sighs out. The anger knots tight, pressed up against the agony and emptiness Dad left behind. He wasn't just my father, he was Mom's husband. He had friends. He was a part of my world, and now he's pictures and mementos and everything I still remember about him, and more that I can't. I don't want to replace Dad, but I want to move on. I put on a brave face, masking my emotions as best I can, and say, Nicole and I can take care of the rest of Dad's stuff. Thank you, Vanessa. Mom agrees. Dad wouldn't have wanted me to get upset at Mom, especially since she's also sad today. I grab her shoes for her. She smiles at me with another sigh. You go ahead with Nicole. I'm going to clean this up first. Here. Mom hands me a bag of carrots and some homemade hummus. For Nicole, and for you if you get hungry. She glances at my stomach tight against my shirt, and I suck in reflexively. Even on this bad day, she has to remind me that I'm overweight. I take the snack and walk back to the office. Nicole sits in the chair, using her feet to swivel herself back and forth as she holds something in her hands. What, break time already? I ask, the anger knots tighter. Nicole drops the piece of paper onto the desk, and I can't help but watch as it flutters back and forth before settling off-kilter near the edge. What does it say? I ask. I don't know. Nicole hands it to me. It's a lined notebook paper with a bunch of scribbles. Sorrow hits me. I don't recognize the handwriting, but it has his name at the top, under the date. The numbers blur as I hold back the tears. I've forgotten another part of my memories of Dad. I read through the scribbles and turn to Nicole in confusion. I show her the note. July 22nd, 2002. Number 1, get a dog, but it's crossed out. 2, win a food challenge. 3, shoot a gun. 4, ride a motorcycle. 5, skydive. 6, perform a kind deed without expecting anything in return. It's a bucket list, she explains. But why? What do you mean why? Most people have them, Nicole says. Not my dad. He would have told me. Nicole gives me a funny look. Seems like your dad, though. I mean, come on. Win a food challenge? Yeah, it does kind of sound like him, but only one has been crossed out. I frown, thinking of everything Dad never got a chance to accomplish. Did he even get a chance to try half of these things? The day he died. I gulp and close my eyes for a long blink. The day he died, he was trying to beat the world record for most donuts eaten in 3 minutes. I remember that day, almost every detail. Why isn't that on this list? Why the generic food challenge? Nicole doesn't answer, and I continue. He took us, Mom, Bluster, and I, to the dog park. He was always into getting things done, a dog and donuts on the same day in the same place. I remember he let me hold the timer. It made me feel important. Nicole nods. He wasn't very good at eating donuts fast, but he made us laugh. He was covered in powdered sugar, and it made me think of Christmas snow. I was proud and embarrassed for Dad at the same time. He was so fun, but he was always doing weird things. Nicole inclines her head at my words and gets out of the office chair. She paces the room twice and then starts methodically and carefully putting books into boxes. I remember I could taste the powdered sugar. He was eating so fast that it was poofing everywhere. Bluster kept winding his leash under his legs as he watched us. Mom and I both laughed at Dad. He managed to swallow the first donut and was already stuffing the second one into his mouth. I stop my story and sigh. Nicole looks up at me. I'm listening, she says. There was no way he was going to beat the record, and I teased him the rest of the day for failing. Now I wish I hadn't. I look down at my hands, Dad's bucket list clenched in them. You should do it, Nicole declares. What? You should do his bucket list. What? No way. Mom appears in the doorway. I slide the paper under a stack of folders on the desk. Everything all right? She asks. Nicole looks at me, and I shrug. Here, I'll take the boxes out to the car, she offers. She lifts one of the heavier book-filled boxes and staggers out. I'm glad we're donating his books, but I'm sad to see them go. The room is empty without them. Are you going to tell her about the list? Nicole asks. I consider it. No, I don't think so. I don't want to share it with my therapist. I don't want to share this piece of dad with anyone else. Mom would make me share it with my therapist. She would minimize it and then disappear on a date. Well, I'm pooped. Do you want me to stick around? Nicole asks. Oh, no. Mom scheduled a session for me later this afternoon. Why can't she just pull me out of class like all the other parents so I can at least skip school? The humor sounds foreign to my ears because I'm still reeling from cleaning out Dad's office and having to comfort Mom. I retrieve the list from under the files and walk up to take down the photograph from the corkboard. I want to move on. Nicole ushers me out of the room, clutching the unopened bag of carrots, Bluster following behind us. I clutch both the bucket list and the ripped photograph in my hands as she shuts the door firmly behind us. So that concludes Chapter 1 of Donuts in an Empty Field, For the Love of Donuts, Book 1. If you'd like to read on, you can snag a copy at your local Amazon retailer or come on down to the Neverending Bookshop in Bothell. And thank you for joining me. Until next time, I'm your local donut enthusiast, Rachel Bernard. Bye, everyone. Donut.